CEU credits, even non-members. There is a substantial increase in the cost for a non-member. We hope that we don't get any of those and everybody just wants to become a member.
Sure.
That's the right move.
I think so. I
Just be
think
sign
so as well.
So it's actual recordings at the conventions that you guys do, or is it?
Well, we have a monthly webinar that we've been recording those, and then we also have professionally filmed the lighting education facility showcase. We've gone to different universities across North America, filmed with the film crew here, Fogarty, and they're professionally edited educational pieces. So we put those together, and we're developing questions, and we'll be able to get your CEU documents sent right to you immediately.
It'll actually be like a test at the end of these module type things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They have multiple choice tests.
And are they going to be? They're specific to a certain topic, I assume.
Yes.
And real defined, or is it going to be broad knowledge, or is it going to be a combination?
We have a multitude of webinars that we've used, and some are very like based on our standards. Some are more scientific based. From an education standpoint, and then obviously from standards and research. If Brian doesn't mind me just throwing that in.
Go ahead.
We have the IES is a very large umbrella. It's a big tent. So there are people, all sorts of segments of our industry, and they need education at like different levels and different topics and that. So we've been working really hard over the last 2.5 years to develop a broad range of those topics.
That's what we used that word earlier. IES is an umbrella. That's a great word for you guys because everybody kind of falls under the leadership.
Yeah, like when we, like for example, Nailed has educational products, but they're focused on distributors. What kind of lens is that? How do you cut it?
Right.
That kind of stuff, right? Or where do you find this socket or ballast or stuff like that? So there's different types, and we kind of fall into this umbrella of the IES. But this morning we're talking to Jennifer and Tim, and we discussed, and we're going to get to standards and research in a second. Brian, be patient. But Greg and I are very passionate about education, and so is Tom. So we get us three together. We just keep going. But they were talking about their 5-year plan, and that now they're entering the construction of a 5-year plan for 2020 to 2025, I think it is. What role does education play, and how are you contributing to that 5-year plan?
Well, I think it's a key part of the 5-year plan. I mean, the education aspect is the grassroots. I always joke with Brian, and it's not true, but I joke it's the education is the most important part of the IES, but of course it isn't. The most important part is the standards and research, and we use those to develop our education pieces. But we're out there.
The two go hand in hand, I think.
They do. They do now. In the last few years, Brian and I have worked hard with all the people that we have at the IES, and I'm more of like the education is in the foxholes. Like we're frontline, going in there, getting people, and Brian's works a lot. And I'm not going to steal all your thunder there, Brian.
Go ahead.
We are interviewing him too.
No, I can interview. So, Brian, how long have you been with the IES? So I lost my train of thought. That serves me right.
No, you're talking about standards, education, and the 5-year plan.
So we're trying to get into different segments. The distributor group, for instance, is something, in my opinion, that we've been a little bit behind in helping with education. So we're working. There's going to be an additional focus on the distributor aspect. There's going to be a renewed focus on the public. And sorry, you guys block your ears, but even the do-it-yourself, like the Home Depots and the Lowe's of the world. We were just discussing yesterday about a consumer guide product that we'll be hopefully updating and releasing for lighting for seniors. So again, the front lines. That's what we are.
What do you guys think is the best way to learn? And maybe we can all answer this, but online or in person? Start with Tom.
Well, I think if you're looking at breadth, it's online. You can pick and choose, and you can. I have some people, unfortunately, they're like, oh, I can't. Why would I watch that? It's an hour long. Yeah. What? But if you want depth, if you want to learn something in depth, I don't think you can beat in person.
Yeah.
I think practicing the art is the way to learn anything, really.
Absolutely. And talking with people.
Yeah, right? I think the idea of working in a lighting company or working in a lighting designing company or working somewhere involved in the business of lighting and training go really well together. So you're out, you're doing whatever light at wherever you are in the lighting business, you're doing some training and that's really interesting. And then you're out in the field and you notice it and you bring back the training and there's like this synergistic thing that's
Absolutely.
going on while you're working. I think it's important. Let's switch gears over to standards. Well, what are standards in research, first of all? I mean, most people know, I'm in charge of standards. Okay. Moving on. Right. So when we talk about standards in research, those are two different things, first of all.
Yes, but they're interconnected. So
Okay.
the standards are, as an example, RP1.
Just take that mic and just move it in front of your mouth. Just there we
A
go.
little bit better like
That's,
that?
yeah, for sure.
Okay. So take an example, our recommended practice for office lighting, for library lighting, for educational facilities. Those are recommended practice which tell designers how you can design lighting for those types of spaces. And we have the lighting requirements for those types of spaces numerically, right? For the lux levels that you want to have horizontal or vertical, depending on what it is, so that people can see what they need to do. And it describes how to design for those spaces so people can see effectively and work effectively and preference type things, you know, what will make them feel better in the environments. So those recommended practice standards are one set. The LM series, the lighting measurement series, are the ones that approve methods that the lighting manufacturers have to test by. And so as an example, if we didn't have those standards, what would this industry be like? How would
Like
we
the
know?
standards for testing.
Yes, the
Yeah,
standards
sure.
for testing. You
Sure.
got to say, okay, these new LED.
They all have those big bubbles. Those
The-
big, what do they call those things?
Gyneometers,
Yeah.
or integrating spheres. They're different
Yeah.
things. But each of those different types of testing apparatus has very specific specifications, and how you test in them has to be very specific. The operating temperature is very important about when you're testing, that everything be set very critically so that everything has the same baseline for how a product is measured. Otherwise, how can you tell one product from another and know that you're getting reliable results? So that's a really big part of our committees. The one that does that is the Testing Procedures Committee. They have about 35 of our standards out of about 70. So about half of our standards are geared towards that, to keep our industry sort of regulated in the way that testing is done. That's a critical part of what our society provides. So if you think about the history of the IES, which started in 1906, there were no lighting measurements. And the whole foundation of the IES is to say, how can we measure this thing called light for people so that we can have reliable results and have stability in the market? And that's what standards do. They provide that reliability of knowing that when you see a report for something, we know that's what it means. We can all say, yes, we agree with that, and stability in the marketplace. Because without it, it would, who knows, you know, what one person might say a lumen is versus another. So we have to, that's our real stake in standards and why it's so important. And the research is tied to that, because how do you get there without the research that gets you those answers? So right now we have 3 demonstration rooms going on at this conference. One is about glare. How do you define glare? And it may not be intuitive to everybody, but we don't really have good metrics for glare. Everybody's kind of like, I know it is when I see it.
But it's like pornography.
Yeah, it's very much like it. It's the same kind of statement. Everybody's, I know when I see it because it hurts.
So you're the director of pornography now.
No, not yet. But you know, the thing is, we work very hard on trying to get these definitions out. So again, there's stability in the market. We know what it means. How can you define glare so that everybody can? We know what it means, and when is it bad? When is it tolerable to say?
So research leads to standards.
That's right.
Standards lead to regulation of the industry.
Sometimes they're just practice. Now, a standard is not a code, right? What
you're saying that the industry is self-regulated by the IES, essentially.
The industry adopts our standards through regulatory means. So if the federal government says that they want to have certain standards adopted for codes and regulations, they can adopt our standards. But we're not the authority that establishes that law as law.
Of course, yes.
Right. So that's the distinction.
But they look to you for
They look to us for that. That's right.
Are you part of the IES which would lobby government?
We don't lobby.
You don't lobby?
No, we're a 501c3.
Okay.
So we do not lobby. When we advocate for lighting,
sure.
And we do have Alex Baker as our
industry relations. Sure.
He's government relations, public policy. Mark Lean is our industry relations.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is they advocate our standards. They advocate for lighting quality. They want to impress upon everybody the value of the IES as a society, as well as our standards, so that people will use them. But it's for the benefit of the general public. It's not for industry, and it's not lobbying, if you can get that distinction. So when we went to Washington, D.C., and we met with some of the people on the Hill, we want them to know that if there's something that they think they want to legislate, that they should come to the IES for the information to let them
Maybe
know.
pick up the phone.
Yeah, pick up the phone, give us a call, and we can help you define that, because
Sure.
otherwise we have a lot of instances where people are trying to legislate without that information
Mhm.
because of other interests that they may have.
Do you think there's ever going to be standards for the health effects of lighting? I know we talk about it on every single show.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no.
But-
Everybody's as interested in it as we are, though.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, and I think there will be. And the key to this is that in the light and health industry, where's the research? It's on health.
Yeah.
It's from the people in neuroscience. It's from the people in the medical industry and so forth. That's where it started, and that's where you need to go to find out where that real science is going. And within the committee that we have, I can tell you the discussions are robust.
Mm.
And the question is, are we ready for them yet? Is there enough solid science? And at what point can you make that point and say, yes, we have enough information, we're ready to say X or Y? It's an evolving field right now, and it's evolving very quickly, and they learn.
So you're in the research stage right
They're in
now.
the research stage right now. And our committees, the people who are in this committee, are very much the researchers doing it. So there's a rush to want to get something right now. They're working on a standard to see what they can standardize, and that's what this whole process of consensus is all about in standards development. You get all the people at the table and say, what can we agree on is something that we can agree on, and make a standard out of it. It's tough.
Now
And
we did see one. We don't have to name it, but that claimed to be what was it? A certain foot candle, vertical foot candles at a level was going to be healthy lighting. Or do you recall what that was?
I know it was vertical foot candles, and it was, I can't remember what it was, but it sounded rudimentary to me and overly simplistic. See, one of the things that I think we'd all agree on is that good lighting design leads to healthier environments,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And we know that, like, for sure, like, one of the ways that it's interesting that you can sort of start looking at a topic is like, okay, we want to make, and Howard Wolfman came on and he said, look, we don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
If we can get a standard out, or like he's with the IEEE,
Right.
and he's saying, if we can get something that's 95 or 96% there, and it's 5 times as much work to go to 100, maybe we'll stay at 96.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to get to that 100. But when I think about this angle, one of the ways to think about it, and I hate to repeat myself on the same live stream, but I'm going to say it again, is where is lighting being effectively deployed to hurt people?
Intentionally to hurt people?
Yes. I can tell you one place.
Tell me.
Casinos.
Okay.
So casinos have known for decades that if you shine high Kelvin temperature light into someone's eyes on a vertical basis at a very high foot candles, that they'll give you their paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they've known this for a long time. Like, we're not talking 90s, we're talking 60s maybe, or 70s. They started.
Keep people up later and longer.
Yeah, a casino is basically an enormous circadian rhythm disruptor.
Mhm.
That's what all it's designed to do.
Besides being a rat maze, so you can't find your way out the
Well,
door.
this is it. Well, this is it. No clocks, no windows, fresh
Right.
oxygen being pumped in, all vertical lighting into your eyes, right? So what is the opposite of that, right? Maybe we should start there. But it's interesting. So we know that we can, certainly with the flicker question, we know that we can hurt people with lighting. We know that we can make lighting environments that, are wonderful for people to be in through lighting design, through different types of. Can we make lighting systems that actually have measurable, provable? Can we have standards that will dictate? So guys in the field like Greg and I can stand in front of a customer and say, if you do this,
Mhm.
you will see X, Y, and Z productivity gains, less sick days, whatever the metric is that you want to throw out there.
Mhm.
Are you guys even thinking about doing that?
Yes. Let me hit that one directly. We are going to be sponsoring a symposium in April, and it's going to be light and quality, and it's going to be about measurable metrics beyond energy. And the whole emphasis is to try to gather experts in the different fields that are looking at measurable outputs based on lighting inputs over a broad spectrum of things like light and health, productivity, absenteeism, retail sales. There's all of these different things which are called the non-energy benefits of lighting, but the quantification to put that into an economic model has not been done. And so we're putting this symposium on. We're gathering new people to be in a new economics committee to help drive that conversation, because we all know that they're there, but the actual way that you measure it for each of these variables is not well defined. It's, we always say we want to have high quality lighting. Well, we go to any place, we say we want to have better lighting because it will help productivity. And the question is, be Missourian, show me,
Yeah.
the show me state.
Sure, I
But that's
get it,
what
yeah.
they ask. Show me, how's that going to happen? Well, for a lot of this stuff, we don't have that ability to show them, even though we know it exists. So we're going to drive that.
Yeah, there's
that because we need that. If we're going to say we need high quality lighting, you have to have an economic basis to make these changes. Otherwise, people won't do it.
there's a lot of ivory tower talk,
Yeah.
right? The ivory tower talking to the other ivory tower, and everything's wonderful. And sometimes that bleeds into the public, and the public get it too far ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's too early for them even to be hearing about this information. But the guys that are in front of the person that actually uses the light fixture on the street, there's nothing that, I don't think there's anything we can say right now. But I want to comment on something and it's going to change the gears a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it tells us exactly where this industry is at, Greg. He said, we have a conference where we're going to discuss the non-energy benefits of lighting.
Mhm.
Like we're so focused on energy efficiency that we literally have to call the conference non-energy. We're not going to talk about energy here.
Right.
We're not talking about energy efficiency.
Because energy is easy. Energy is easy to quantify, and it's easy to make an economic case based on energy.
And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the world asking the lighting industry to save all the energy for everybody. Actually,
Well, and that's the other thing that we well know is that with the LED technology the way it is almost at its cusp of energy efficiency.
Sure.
It's not going. You're not going to squeeze any more water out of that rock. You're
And
just not going to.
Not only that though, but all the efficiency gains in the world are from lighting.
Yep.
Like this business has completely been responsible. It's time for the energy generation business to make us clean energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like enough with there's only so much we can save. I mean, energy is like almost a human right, but off topic. So the non-energy benefits of lighting, like that just tells me that the fact that we have to name the conference that so people get it is just tells you exactly where the industry's been from say 2005 or whatever to 2017, Greg.
It does. It really does. And kind of along that line, how long does it take to develop a standard? I know. Are we talking years?
I'll tell
How
you,
many conferences?
It's a lot longer than to do anything educational.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of research and that goes in. And Brian just does an insanely great job of what he does, and I couldn't do it, and I don't know anybody else who could. But that's a great question. I just wanted to make sure that you're
ready for the answer.
Yeah.
So the question is how much controversy is in the standard? How much controversy is there about the topic at hand, right?
Yeah.
If it's a fairly simple thing, how to measure a certain type of light, with the people in the testing community, they can get to that one pretty quick, and they can develop a standard around that fairly quick. It can get pretty in the weeds and a lot of minutia, but they'll get to it because it's an objective thing. As soon as you start getting into subjective issues, and human variability, it's all over the map. And then in the committees, we have to have users and producers and general interest, at least 3 categories of people in the room. It can't be one-sided, and so then you have the various interests at the table trying to reach a consensus on the topic, whatever it is, light and health, or how to light port terminals. We have a committee that's there. And so these different applications that we have, you have to have these various interests in there. Otherwise, it's not an industry consensus, and the standard doesn't hold. So it has to have all those
all
things
your
involved.
stakeholders
All the stakeholders have to be there, and they have to come to a consensus, and that's what makes the standard strong. If you don't have them there, then you could say it's lopsided, and you didn't think of certain interests in there, and it's not going to be as strong. So we work very hard to get our committees balanced, to get all those perspectives in there. And then it's all about who's in there and what their passions are and how controversial the subject matter is.
And I think the hard part for me is the word standard. Like when I hear that, I'm like, okay, that means it's got to be this way. But you're saying how strong it is a level that it's not necessarily has to be this way, but
well, that leads to my question is like, when are you the guy that, or the gal, it might be a gal, there's not a lot of women in this business, but there's a lot of women at this conference, actually. This is the most gender diverse lighting conference I've ever been to, by the way. Just completely off topic.
Well, thank you. No, I mean, I think that's a testament to the IES and what we do. It is. I mean, like if you go look at the halls, I would think it's
Half?
55.
It's pretty
Yeah.
close, man.
Yeah.
It definitely, it might actually be more. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on where you are and whatever. But who makes the call when we've had enough research and it's time for a standard? Is that your call?
Well, no, my call is to get the committee people together to reach that decision.
Okay.
Now, usually what happens is when you get the group of people who are interested in the topic, it's gotten to the point where they think it's ready for a standard. A lot of times when they start talking about it, they'll find out that, okay, there's a lot of information here and we're ready to publish something, but maybe it's not a full standard. And that's a document we typically call it a technical memorandum. It's an IES standard of sorts, but what it is, it says this is a status of the industry at this time.
Yeah.
And so you can look at this and you can glean what you can from it, but it may not reach its conclusions yet. And it'll tell you why you can't, right? So technical memorandums are typically—
Who writes those, man?
the committees,
Okay.
committees that are doing it, like TM30, the color one that we have, which was done by the color committee. And
That was fantastic, by
Yeah,
the way.
Pretty cool, no?
so that—
Fantastic, that demonstration.
Yeah.
I'm so glad those guys are coming in here and really soon to talk to us.
Well,
actually.
Yeah, I think they're on after us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and just to put a plug in, this is the TM30 is so much more than CRI. And that's what the big strength of it is. It goes way beyond what the old CRI metric was. So there's really 3 different metrics you want to look at for color, not just the one. So it was a big step to go there, and the committee dedicated themselves to do it. They got it published, but as a technical memorandum, it got put out in the field for people to read it, to think about it and say, okay, is this what we really want to do, right? And so the CIE, the International Organization for Lighting, and around the world, that has all the different member countries, took a look at this, and at first they were saying, well, wait a minute, and then they took a look at it and they modified part of it, and then they brought it back to our committee. We said, okay, we'll agree with that, and now we do have an international standard for what's called the RF metric, which is an old CRE metric, CIE metric, CRI metric. But the other aspects of TM30, the gamut and the vector analysis and those parts of it are still in TM30, and it doesn't have quite the same global, let's say, acceptance. So it's still a TM out there.
So TM is technical memorandum.
Right.
Okay.
And that's the way a lot of these things get started. The glare thing, when it gets done, we have this glare demo that we were talking about for discomfort glare. Where that's going to lead, probably to a technical memorandum at first, so the market can see it, we can experiment with it and refine it before it becomes a recommended practice, kind of a standard. So we have these sort of placeholder things that we build in to help the market evolve.
Brienne and Alex are on tomorrow morning to discuss TM21.
Yeah, right.
Good. So you think there will be a point, though, where you can define what healthy lighting is?
Oh, man.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I don't know when that is. I think there's healthy
Sunlight.
lighting. I mean,
Get outside right now.
let's just step back for a minute and think of how humans have evolved. All right. So we've evolved over 300,000 years over a diurnal cycle of 12-hour cycle. The last 150,000 years, we entered into controlling fire and having nighttime experiences. And that's probably the biggest thing that brought language about to us. So we got used to warmer color, lower levels at night, and extended 16-hour wake cycle and an 8-hour sleep cycle, right? It's only been in the last 100 years since the electrification and of light into everybody's home that we've turned into a 24-hour cycle species. We are part of a grand experiment right now that we never really thought about. We just built it. And so the fact that
don't start getting spiritual.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you right now that we are in the phase of really taking a look at what we did, because now we understand the physiology and the neuroscience behind it that we never really thought we had to think about, because as human beings, we think we can always engineer our way out of things. And so this is really, I think, to me, what we're having to do is through the medical profession, we're finding out that, maybe we weren't meant for this. And so it's going to be very interesting when we say, what is healthy lighting? Well, healthy lighting, you would say, is what we evolved with. But we're not going to go back to that probably. So what do we need to do with what the lighting is, the electric lighting?
I think Marshall McLuhan has the answer to that. First, we shape technology, then technology shapes us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because in a sense, like when you think about this sort of stuff, we are in a way the electric light people. We are the people of electric light in human history, right? And then our children are going to be the people of augmented reality, or cyborgs, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like everything in the medium is the message. It's not what you watch; it's that you watch it. right? So that you're the TV watching generation,
Mhm.
right? You and you know, there's a radio listening
He's
generation.
dating us, you see.
You're a little. I mean, but we are the TV watching. Our kids are the. You know what I'm saying? There's like these
Yeah.
this technology shape going on. When do standards lead to education, Tom?
Well, once the first of all,
Or are they going on concurrently, kind of?
ideally they are, but when we're putting together an educational piece based on a standard, we'll have a heads up that something's coming down, right? And then there's a need, and when the standard is going to be released. But we generate our educational pieces on standards off the publication itself. So we really don't get going with that until after the standard's been approved and released. We are going for 2020. Part of our strategy is to have an educational piece for every single one of our standards. There will be a online
You can be
course.
busy, Tom.
I have great people to work with, and
Yes.
a lot of, I mean,
Good answer, Tom.
well, you know what? I have we have 7,000 people
Wow.
that work on education, and that's all our members. Right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's incredible the amount of work that they do, and we've got a plan in place to start developing a lot of the education pieces for our online lighting library. We call it the online light. I think it's just the lighting
I'm
library.
going to tell you right
Yeah.
now. I think
Yeah.
TM30 is an educational challenge for you guys.
How so?
Not in a bad way, in a good way.
Mhm.
It's a lot more complicated than CRI.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
not a number. you
yes,
can-
yes,
Yeah. So
no.
what happened to
Well,
82? I liked 82.
90 sounds good.
Okay, but it only is because you won't be able to get it wrong. You ask anybody,
Interesting,
you
that's
ask
a good way to put
anybody
it.
about what CRI is and what's the definition of CRI, and they'll say, well, whatever. A lot of people, I'd say 90% of the people out there that are listening will say, oh, that's how natural the colors
Yeah,
are. And
but it's all
which is
nothing.
totally incorrect,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's based on a reference.
Sure.
So it's how closely that source meets the colors like
Sure.
from that reference.
Huh?
It's not natural necessarily. I mean, one of the metrics is the sunlight,
Sure.
or the black-bodied radiator,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily natural. It's based on something. Like I may not like that,
Right.
so it's not better. I don't like it, but people think CRI, like a 90 CRI, is better than an 80 CRI, and if you look at it from a very like wide view, then yes, but I can give you a ton. I can show you 80 CRI products that look way better than a 90. The last time I was on with you guys, we talked about how nowadays we can fine tune the wavelength, the very specific
Sure.
wavelengths, right?
Yeah.
And fill around with that.
When I was in there, you could see like the depth, the texture
Mhm.
differences. You know, when they changed it, especially when they went to the bad red, the oversaturated red or whatever. It's like, whoa! But you could actually feel like a box. You think that's not going to change its texture. It changed its texture.
Looks like it.
Like the orange changed its texture. It changed the depth, the richness, all this stuff. It was absolutely wild demo. You know, how do you? I think the first thing to educate for the lighting business and on the distributor side is to tell them that the measurement of light quality has changed. Like that alone,
I
everyone
agree.
needs to find that out first. Like, don't worry about anything else.
Mhm.
It's changed, and you need to learn. And that would take a good year actually for that to settle in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like the
How
new
long?
metric,
Let me ask this: like,
TM30.
how long will manufacturers continue to put out CRI numbers? Probably forever.
Well, as long as the engineers and the public find them useful or use them.
Sure.
I mean, we have to go out there. I mean, TM, it's a TM, it's not an RP yet, right?
Yeah.
So there's still some debate, but as soon as it gets accepted, and to your point that it's harder than CRI. Well, it's because CRI is a single metric. It's
Yeah.
based on fidelity, whereas the TM30 is based on fidelity, hue, saturation. I think when the general public gets used to the graph, where and how to read that graph, that like if it goes further out, it's more saturated. It goes inside, it's less saturated. And you'll get a feel. People get a feel for that visual. So that's of everything with TM30. I think that is the most that piece there is the most promising to take into the do-it-yourselfers or general public. They'll be able to understand it better from that as opposed to the two metrics.
Now, do you guys envision a time of, I assume, but when to do a new handbook? Or are you going to do it the same way, a big
No.
by weight or whatever Michael thinks.
No.
You know, it's wonderful that we're here because
Yeah.
Brian just announced this about a half an hour ago.
Oh, we missed that. We were
Yeah,
recording.
yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's perfect. Well, and your audience wasn't here either.
Yeah. there you go.
Good point.
No, the handbook is not going to exist as it has, and it will be an electronic platform. It will have all of the standards included with it. It's going to be called the Lighting Library, and it will be a subscription-based service. So it's not just what was in the handbook; it's all the standards combined into this platform. And so
Some printing company just went out of business.
Some trees just got
They just
saved.
declared, they just declared bankruptcy right now,
Yeah.
and along with a forestry products company up in Canada
we
that made the paper.
we asked
It's all gone.
right. We asked the question, with everybody here, okay, how many of you brought the handbook with you? Of course, nobody does.
Yeah.
But how many brought your laptop?
Sure.
Everybody does. And
Sure.
that's what it needs to be. So the platform is going to be online all the time, current, so that when a standard changes, if you're a subscriber, you've got the latest standard right when it happens. I don't even need to advertise that it's out. It's there for you because you got updated as a subscriber. One of the great things about it is as companies want to purchase this product, let's say they get a site license for it, then the different people who are working in that site in that office can communicate to each other about different sections of the standards. Let's say office, and one guy wants to write a note about, oh, watch for this, guys. Everybody in that office can see that note. You can communicate with each other about that part of the standard.
So you can interact with
so you can interact with each other
cool.
in an office and across offices if you have multiple sites.
Sure.
So the platform that we're using, give a shout out to our people at ASTM. They developed this for themselves as a standards development organization. And this platform that they have is now that they've found success in themselves, they're inviting other organizations such as ourselves to use that platform for our standards. So we've been working with them for about a year to develop it. It's going to be launched next year. And right now we're getting all 70 of our standards as well as all those handbook chapters redone through our committees through this whole voting process. So that everything's going to start on a 2020 date.
Awesome.
And it's going to be incredible. We really think this is going to be very important. And a big part of the challenge of this is once it gets on there, how do we get this, you guys, how do we get this into the hands of every architect, engineering, lighting designer, lighting distributor, contractor office across the United States and Canada and Mexico and across the world so that they have this because it's available.
I think the best way to do that is to increase the awareness of the IES and what it does.
Yeah.
Right. And this is what you guys are doing right now. And like, we really appreciate you guys coming here.
We appreciate you guys having us here.
Yeah, it's
Believe
been
me.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's
It's
been very
great.
good, yeah.
Absolutely great. And Kurt's on lighting, of course. And I think that's, is there anything else that we can, you want to tell the people watching right now, Brian or Tom?
I'd encourage any of your audience to download the IES Ready Reference
And that's
app.
free. That's free.
Free,
Google
absolutely
Play,
free.
Google and iPhone, right?
iPhone, yep.
Yeah, Android and iPhone.
Totally free. Give it a nice 5 rating out of 5.
Start with that.
Yeah.
My encouragement is for everybody out there to become an IES member. Go to IES.org, sign up, become a member. Once you become a member, then you can become immediately more involved in the organization. It's a very open organization in terms of, we talked about
great
this umbrella.
people too, man.
And
man.
It's fascinating to me. One of the guys that I was talking to, we've known for years, he's retired. He's not really doing much in the line, but he still comes here, and it's because he says it's family.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we really, I think we are. We create this umbrella. It's just a wide cast net. The people that find themselves here, they get attracted and they stay for a while because of that kind of bonding that we all have in this industry.
It's a pretty unique experience in the fact that the more you give, Randy was saying that, Randy Berkeley was saying that today, and it's so true. The more you give of yourself, the far more you get back. Like it just multiplies. The more you give, you have like 6 times more, 8 times more.
Sure.
It's just absolutely incredible.
Every time we're worried about sharing something and we think, oh, this is so, but it just seems the more we share, the more listeners we get, the more people want us to be around. They want, it's just, you're absolutely right with that, Tom. If you're listening to this, especially if you're a student and you're interested in being in the lighting business, I would encourage you to join the IES as a student.
Absolutely.
Yep. You can get hold of us at membership@ies.org. Another email address that we have is education@ies.org if you're interested in our free educational platforms.
All right, lots of ways to interact with the IES folks. Hey, and we're most grateful for you, the listener out there. But right now, we're going to tell you a little bit about KURTZON.com, baby. Kurtz on Lighting. Kurtz on Lighting, specification, grade. Come on, Greg.
121 years in business. That's our math.
Did you
We
finally
figured
do
it
the
out.
math?
I did it last time, so I
Did
just
you?
repeated that.
Okay.
Long-time company, long-time IES member too. They said it's been decades. I don't even know how long, but great company in their fourth generation of family ownership. Specification grade Kurtz on.
Kurtz on, KURTZON.com, baby. That's it.